Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cryptic Commander. Today we have something super exciting. We got our first ever deck tech. So, in my group hate free Magic Gathering on Facebook, I did a poll of people wanted, Jank, EDH, if they wanted Legacy, if they wanted something modern, standard. I didn't really care. I let everybody in the group decide, and they wanted a janky EDH deck, as janky as possible. And so we got ourselves Xyris, the Writhing Storm, Snake Tribal Jank deck. Right now, we're going to wriggle our way right into the start. I really like the background too. This art, I believe, is from the card Gaze of Granite. Just thought Medusa was a good name. Okay, and so everybody's budget prices are different, so I'm not going to tell you whether or not this is budget or not. It's a $60 deck with the most expensive card in the entire thing being Lotus Cobra, which, when I checked the price, was about $5.32 on TCG Market. So, not too bad from where I'm sitting. This is a super fun deck, full of snakes. We're not really going to be utilizing too much the effects, the last effects of Xyris, as you can see here. It's going to be more of whenever an opponent yeah, it's gonna be. We're gonna try to do more of the attack damage here rather than getting our opponent to draw cards. Like I said, we want this to be as janky as absolutely possible. So I just threw in a bunch of snakes, got some counter spells going, and we got a bunch of ramp to get out snakes as fast as possible. So let's get over to it. All right. So first we're gonna go over the land base. It's the most simple thing to go over first. We got ourselves 15 times forest, 9 islands, and we got 5 mountains. And total land base is 36 lands. Yes, I have it written over here on post-it note. 36 lands. Then we have Evolving Wilds. We got Frontier Bivouac. Probably saying that terribly wrong. Oh well. Put ourselves in Oran Reef, the Vastwood. This is fun. Just, be able to put a +1/+1 counter on each green creature that enters the battlefield this turn. Almost all of the snakes in this deck have green in them. So once again, this applies to the super jank part, making some powerful snakes, which I find super funny. Then we got Rugged Highlands, we got Swiftwater Cliffs, Temple of Mystery, and Thornwood Falls. I didn't go with any of the super duper fancy expensive lands because I wanted to keep this more of a friendly deck for people like myself who don't want to spend a bunch of money on a deck but still want to have a fun deck to play with in paper. Now we're on to the snakes. Basically, I'm just going to pile all these snakes all together. I left a couple out just for the sake of being visually nice, having 4 across. The deck list is going to be linked below from Tapped Out. I just took a deck from Tapped Out, a random Xyris deck from Tapped Out, and all I did was I switched Lotus Cobra for a counterspell. That's pretty much all I did with it. And so you see here, there's 3 of these 4 snakes here. All have green in them. There are 29 snakes total in this deck, which is a lot of snakes. All this stuff here is pretty fun. The things I want to talk about here are Broodbirth Viper and Coiling Oracle. Just some good card advantage there. Ambush Viper and Blight Mamba are specifically they're just more as vanilla snakes. The main ingredients in this deck here are card advantage and getting stuff out quickly and having a decent amount of mana ramp, which is going to be delved more deeper into later on. Dusthead Cobra, Glass Asp, Honored Hydra, Casado, or Casado, I'm not sure how to say that. But Casado is one of the ones that I really wanted to go over here. Casado is super fun. It's blue-green. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. If that creature is a snake, it gets +2/+2. So it's really adding on to that jank aspect of I have a snake, I'm going to pump it, and you can't block it. Super fun, especially once you have that mana out and you have multiple snakes out, and just be able to pump them early in the game and swing for damage. It's fun. I love it. You'll love it too. Then we got Kashi Tri-Reaver. Kashi sounds like cereal. Terrible cereal. Sorry out I'm sorry to all the people out there who actually like Kashi. It's terrible. Okay, or skill Codal. Once again, there's that draw advantage there. Whenever you draw a card, you get a +1/+1 counter on lore skill Codal. As you can see, we got our theme here of buffing and drawing so far. Marsh Viper. This is actually an important note here. Marsh Viper was errated. Instead of saying summon Viper, it's creature type snake. So it's still snake. Don't worry. There are creatures in this deck that aren't snakes, but that's later. Mireboa, Mold Adder, Moss Viper. Yes, I left Lore Skeletal up there once again for the visual, so my brain doesn't go crazy. Some counterspell stuff here. There are a few other counterspells in this deck. Mystic Snake is just a good snake. It's a 2/2 with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you can counter target spell. Just an advantage of being able to get rid of something your opponent wants to play and getting another snake on the battlefield. And it's fantastic art. Love the art. Nemesis of Mortals. I actually remember playing this in limited during the Theros block, playing at FNM for release. It was a super fun thing to play in limited just because a 5/5 getting out earlier in the game was a huge advantage, and it can definitely be an advantage with this commander deck as well. Since you have so many snakes, you can definitely allow yourself to block with some of them and get them in your graveyard. If you say have Nemesis of Mortals in hand, don't play around Nemesis of Mortals, but keep it in mind if you have it in your hand earlier in the game. Nessian Asp, another monstrosity, reach, Noose Constrictor, another buffer, Oran Viper, not entirely sure how to say that, but it's some creature removal. Whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy the creature at end of combat, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. It's removal, and it gets you the card draw that you need. Irachi Egg Watcher, which is fun to have a flip snake card. I was thinking about doing a snake commander deck with just this, but I figured I kind of needed more blue in order to make it a truly good snake tribal deck. But this just puts out snake tokens, and when you control 10 or more creatures in total, you flip it, and it becomes Shidako Brood Mistress. And you pay green to sack it, and target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. And it becomes a legendary creature, Snake Shaman, that's a 3/3. And we got Patagia Viper here. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2/1/1 green and blue snake creature tokens onto the battlefield. When it enters the battlefield, you have to sack it blue was paid to cast it. So not the best card, but it does give you an advantage with having more snakes in total. And it's a flyer. Flyers are always decent to have. And we got Ramuna Hydra. There's no deserts in this deck. It was purely included because of the visual reach and trample effects, and it's a 3/3. Mostly just in here because it's a snake. Let's move on. And we got Riverboa, Sakura Tribe Scout. This gives you some ramp. You can put a land card from your hand out into play, especially if you're able to play this turn 1. It's pretty nice. We got Shiseido, Whispering Hunter. That is some crazy looking artwork. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's kind of scary. It's like half snake, half Mortal Kombat. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sack a snake. Whenever Shiseido Whispering Hunter deals combat damage to a player, that player skips her next untap step. That can be super fun, and it can give you huge advantage. Huge advantage if you're able to make this deal combat damage to your opponent. Player skipping their untap step does a lot, like a lot. Then we got Skullwinder. Once again, here more because it's a snake, but you can get some advantage when it enters the battlefield because you get to return a card from your graveyard to your hand. Then you get to choose an opponent, and that player returns a card from their graveyard to their hand. See, it has a little bit of a downside with your opponent choosing a card, but you also get a card back. To me, it's in here because it's a snake. Then we've got Snake of the Golden Grove, more Buffy, Wasteland Viper, more vanilla snake, Winged Codal, Flash, Flying, Death Touch. It's fun. It's a 1/1, but it has Flying and Death Touch, so if your opponent's attacking with a big boy, You can just flash this out. It has Death Touch, block. Good. And here more as a removal type of thing. Now we're on to the other creatures, which there are 11 of them. We're going to start off with Dragon Mage. Now this does delve a little bit into the second part of our commander, who is Xyris. Xyris is whenever your opponent draws a card, that's not their first card, at their draw step, then you get a 1/1. So this is exactly what Dragon Mage is here for. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, each player discards their hand, then draws 7 cards. So your opponent draws 7, you draw 7, you get card advantage, and you get 7 1/1 snakes. And it's a 5/5 flyer, so why not? 7 mana, definitely worth it. We've got Glade Muse. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, that player draws a card. Once again, here for the card advantage, plus it gets you more snakes. And it's a 2/4 for 3 mana, so it's not bad at all. We've got Jace's Archivist. It's 1 colorless, 2 blue. It's another, each player discards her hand and draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. Same thing that the dragon does, except it's equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. You still get that card advantage, plus you get the 1/1s. Pretty awesome. And it's a 2/2 for 3 mana. Not terrible. Yes, it goes away to removal fairly quickly. But early game, huge asset. We got Nessian Boar. This is just a good big boy to attack with, so that if you want to get rid of some nuisances on your opponent's side, and you get 1/1 whenever it becomes blocked by a creature. I mean, that creature's controller draws a card, they draw a card, they get advantage, but you also get more 1/1s. It's a trade-off there, especially since this is a 10/6 for 5 mana. I absolutely love it. And then we got Nin the Pain Artist. And this just deals X damage to target creature. That creature's controller draws X cards. You get to deal damage, and you get to draw X cards. So, I mean, once again, huge advantage early game. You get to get those 1/1s as long as your commander's out, and you get to deal damage. It's pretty awesome. And it deals deal damage only to target creature, which is the only downside. It doesn't deal damage to your opponent. I think I might have accidentally said that. But it's a fantastic card. And then we got Quicksilver Gargantuan here. When it enters the battlefield, as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's still 7/7. So I mean, if you want to make a snake a big boy, Quicksilver Gargantuan, super fun. They're more of just a big creature. We've got Rune Servitor. This is just a little guy. Early game, when it dies, each player draws a card, gets you advantage. You get a 2/2, and you get that 1/1 snake from your commander, as long as your commander's out. And then we've got Thorn Mammoth here. It's trample. It's a 6/6. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Thorn Mammoth fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Great here for removal, getting rid of more big stuff your opponents have, because most of the time your snakes aren't going to be that big. And then here we got Visor, however the hell you want to say it, of many faces. I know you're going to say, oh, why didn't you include this in the snake side? It could technically be a snake. Yeah, it's a shapeshifter, but it enters the battlefield as any creature on the battlefield, except if Visor of Many Faces wasn't bulbed. So if it comes from your graveyard, the token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. It's because there's other creatures in here other than snakes, and so you can copy just anything. So I didn't include it in the snake side. And then the last one here is Yisan, the Wanderer Bard. It's you pay 2 colorless, a green, you tap it to put a burst counter on Yisan, and then you search your library for a creature card with a converted mana cost equal to the number of burst counters on Yisan, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This is just good because a lot of your snakes go from 1 to 2 mana to 3 mana to 4 mana, and then you can go up into the bigger creatures if I'm assuming you don't cast them, right? It's fun. And then now we got our instants. There are 8 instants, 8 sorceries, and 7 artifacts. We're almost there. Got this, guys. So this is just, card draw for you and your opponent. And you choose an opponent and untap all permanents you and that player control. This is once again just to get that 1/1s, just to get those 1/1s, from your commander. Naturalize. You're going to need a decent amount of artifact and gem removal in this deck. Those are the main things that you're going to face with the snakes that you have. With things like Ghostly Prison with your opponent, making it so you have to pay mana to attack. you're going to want Naturalize, Return to Nature, Smash to Smithereens, Anticipate, great card advantage for yourself and only for yourself. Arcane Denial, we're getting into the counter spells now. You do want a few counter spells in here, just in case you don't have the removal you need from your creatures. It's a big creature you can't get rid of yet. You want to counter it. Plus, this gives an advantage of your opponent drawing stuff, so you can get those 1/1s. And then we've got Cobra Trap. You just get a bunch of 1/1s. It's fun. And then another counterspell, Cancel. Now we're on to the sorceries. Rid ourselves Cultivate. We got some mana ramp going on here. You search the library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put one onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand, and you shuffle your library. Just pure mana ramp. This is a little bit of buffing your creature, Anki-Eater removal. So one of your big boys fights another big boy. Hopefully you win, and it's just pure removal from that point. At the waste, more mana ramp, plus you make another snake a big boy, you get a +1/+1. And Molten Psyche is another way of getting that cycling going against your opponent with them drawing cards and you getting 1/1s, because each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand into his or her library, then draws that many cards. In Metalcraft, which we're going to go into the artifacts later, the likelihood of you having 3 artifacts isn't super high. This part isn't that important. The first part of the sorcery is what's important. But if you control 3 or more artifacts that deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards that player has drawn this turn, with a little bonus if you have 3 artifacts out. And then you have Niss's Renewal, which is you search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, put them on a battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library, you gain 7 life. So this is just advantage for mana, and you gain 7 life, which is not a terrible thing. We got Treasure Cruise. It's pure card draw. Like I said, you're gonna have a decent amount of snakes or other things in your graveyard. Just delve them out and draw your 3 cards. Great. I remember when this was like a $20 card because everybody played it in Legacy. Now it's only like 20 cents. And then we got Uncaged the Menagerie. Of course, we're gonna have this card in here. You search the library for up to X creature cards with different names, and each have converted mana cost X. Reveal them, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. You get a bunch of snakes out. We got Vastwood Surge, which is once again buffing your creatures and getting lands out. Easy peasy, bada easy. Now we're into artifacts. Like I said, there's only 7 artifacts that are done. And this deck so far I love. I'm probably going to make it just play some jank stuff with Sneks against all of my friends. But this is double X. When it enters the battlefield with X charge counters on it, you pay 5, you tap it, you put a 1/1 green snake creature onto the token on the battlefield for each charge counter on Orochi Hatchery. So some people might not entirely understand what that double X means. It just means for each 1 that it's talking about for that 1/1, you have to put 2 into it. So for each 2 mana you put into it, you get 1 out with 1 green, with 1/1 green snake. That's all it means. Prismatic Lens, just to get the mana you need. Simple as that. Serpent Generator, this just gets snakes out, so you can deal infect to your opponent. And if the player has 10 or more poison counters, he usually loses the game. I know it is often different in Commander. You and your table need to decide whether you want to do 10, 12, 15. Sometimes it's even 20 poison counters for your opponent to lose the game. I personally stick with around 15. I feel like 15 is the most fair to go with in Commander. But, you guys get to decide that, not me. Simic Signet, Mana Ramp, and Mana Fixing, all in the same package. Snake Basket, you pay X to stack it, and you get X 1/1s. You can only play it when it's sorcery. Yes, this is a one-off, but it's really good if it's later in the game and you have a bunch of mana and you don't have really anything else to spend it on. Just put 10, 12 mana into this thing, and you get 10 or 12 1/1s. Very fun. Once again, Mana Ramp, Mana Fixing, Temple Bell. Each player draws a card. This is to get you advantage and to get your opponent to draw a card so you can get another 1/1. And well, that is it for us today. Remember, I just still love the artwork Medusa is awesome. I really do appreciate you watching this video. I know I have a long ways to go until I get these deck techs, really not even perfected, but until I get to the point where I'm super happy with them. Please give me advice on the different things you'd like to see in these deck techs. In the future, I'm hoping to be able to put more pricing with the cards. It was just a lot of work to just basically put each one of these cards in here. Like I said, the deck list will be linked below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you want me to do. Make sure you go to the Cryptic Commander website. We're not using Patreon anymore, so if you want to subscribe and get 3D printed deck boxes, get shirts, get a bunch of different perks, go to thecrypticcommander.com. Subscribe there. We have $1, $5, $20. It goes up from there. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe. And until then, keep on spell slinging.